Hey guys, welcome to the Overnight Journey vlog number 16. Let me start by thanking those of you that have donated since I made yesterday's vlog. Susan, Mary, and Lou, thank you guys very much for your donations. I really appreciate it, and your generosity really means a lot to me, so thank you very much. So with those donations, we're at $3,072. So our new goal is $3,500. We are on our way to hitting that goal. We're 102% of the way there, and we've got $428 to go until we hit $3,500. It's absolutely incredible. You guys are all amazing, and I really appreciate all the donations and support so far. I am going to be adding 3 new names to the list of people who I am walking in honor of. Melody, Richard Neal, and William Stewart Adamson. I'll be adding those 3 names and walking in honor of those people who lost their lives to suicide as well. So as I've said before, this has really been an amazing experience already, and I've learned a lot. One of the things that I learned last night, as I've been taking part on this journey and learning about suicide and suicide prevention, and I'll be visiting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Facebook page and looking at Twitter and things like that, and I noticed people were talking about how you shouldn't say commit suicide. You should say died by suicide. And so I kind of took notice to that, and I did some research, and I actually found an article, and this was from the psychology.org.au, so it's the Australian Psychological Society, and I'm sure there's a lot of other articles out there too, but basically this article explains it pretty well. I posted this on Facebook last night after I discovered it, just because it was something that was new to me, and I just thought it was important to get it out there. Now, this isn't one of those, I know everybody's kind of on this politically correct thing. This isn't one of those things that would be, oh, this is the politically correct way to say it. This actually has an impact on people who have attempted suicide or have been affected by suicide or are contemplating suicide. Using the word commit has a negative connotation to it, and it actually increases the stigma around suicide. The article that I posted the link for is actually for professionals in the psychological field, so mental health professionals. This is an article discussing how they should change their terminology. And so if they feel they should change their terminology because it could be that detrimental to somebody who is suffering from suicidal thoughts or depression or any other mental illness out there, then I think it's important for us and for society to learn a little bit more about. There's actually 3 reasons provided as to why saying commit suicide is not a good way of putting it and actually raises the stigma. One, the word commit is commonly used in connection with religious offenses. So it can make the person feel like, it's a sin even just to think about it. 2, suicide actually used to be a criminal act. So there was actually a legal prohibition against it. And so the word commit was kind of used in conjunction with committing a crime. And then the third reason is the word commit is oftentimes associated with committing people to mental institutions, committing them to these institutions without their consent, against their will. And so those are 3 kind of big reasons as to why the word commit shouldn't be used along with suicide. So rather than saying commit suicide, you should say died by suicide. And again, I know this, we're living in a time where everybody gets offended by certain ways and certain ways that things are said, or things being politically correct. But again, this isn't something that has anything to do with being politically correct. This has a direct impact on the mental health of people who are affected by this. So to me, that's a little bit different than some of the other issues that have been raised in the past year and a half, when it's really seemed like politically correct has become a really big deal. And just a note on that, politically correct, I can get why people get upset about some of the arguments or how big of a deal certain things get made to be. But to me, if it makes other people feel better or could help them to feel better, maybe there's nothing so wrong with adjusting your language a little bit, to me it just shows that you are thinking about your fellow human beings and trying to make the world a nice place for them to live in, not just for yourself. But that's just my viewpoint on it. So again, with suicide and some of the terminology that's used in conjunction with suicide, commit suicide just has negative connotations and can actually raise the stigma. And as you guys know, one of the big things that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention does is raise awareness for mental health, get the dialogue going, lower the stigma that exists with mental health issues, make people who are suffering from these issues able to speak about it. People are less likely to talk about these types of issues if they feel there's a negative connotation that comes along with it. So let's do our part and let's adjust our language to lower the stigmas and make it easier for people that are having issues to come forward and talk about it rather than making them feel worse about it. So commit suicide, again, not the best way to put it. It doesn't do anything to lower stigmas. There's also, successful suicide. That just doesn't really, oh, it was a success. Instead, just say they suicided or completed suicide. Rather than saying that, you could say ended his or her life or took his or her life. Failed attempt at suicide. You could say non-fatal attempt at suicide. If you say failed attempt, it's kind of like, well, you really aren't good for anything. You can't even commit, I see, and it's in my vocabulary, I'm learning too. You can't even do suicide right, so it's not a failure if somebody doesn't die by suicide. It's a blessing, it's a miracle, it's a good thing. And then unsuccessful suicide, so an attempt to end his or her life rather than saying unsuccessful. Again, it's like you did it wrong. You need to do better next time is kind of what that's saying. So again, just something interesting to think about. I know that I'm going to have to consciously think about it. I know I've said in previous vlogs that Caitlin committed suicide, but the correct way to say that is Caitlin died by suicide. So just something to think about. Not trying to get any kind of debate going or, tell you you're wrong or you should do things my way. Really just want to give you something to think about, and the ultimate goal is to lower the stigma and help people feel more comfortable with talking about these types of issues rather than staying quiet about it because they're afraid of all of the negative connotations that can come with it. So this vlog is actually a little bit on the lengthy side, but if you watched it this far, I definitely appreciate it. Continue to donate, share. It goes a long way, and it's absolutely incredible to me what we've been able to accomplish so far. And thank you all very, very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.